Hi, Will Henry here, and welcome to the workshop. So I've been gone for a few days, but there's been some happenings in the interim. One of the things is that I acquired this handy lapel mic, wearing it on a pocket here, and in hopes that it's going to give me better sound, and you'll be able to hear me talk whether you want to or not, and I won't have to worry about facing the camera or anything else. And so we'll see how that works out. The other neat thing is that while I was fooling around trying to get the lapel mic to work, I found a lighting setting on the camera that is going to help quite a bit, I think. I noticed that it makes me look a little bit old and gray, but I'll live with that if it helps you to see what I'm doing. So that's one thing that's been happening. Other than that, we've been a little busy getting the campground ready for the camping season, and so to that end, for the last few days, I've just been being a all-around handyman and so on. Anyway, so as you recall, I'd been working with that 7mm 08 on the Kimber, and after I'd rebedded it and recrowned it, I decided to take it into the silhouette range in town and try it out. So I met Rick, who owns the rifle, in there, and we commenced to shoot it. And I'll come right out and say, things didn't work out quite the way we'd hoped. The first shot hit just above center, as I would have wanted it to. But with the second shot, it was hitting 5 inches to the right, where it grouped nicely, grouped 3 shots into just over a half inch. So I was pleased enough with that. I moved the scope back over to where it would be centered and fired 2 more that were touching, and then one was about 1.25 inches away. And sadly, that 1.25 inches away was a precursor of things to come. And it fired a scattery group of maybe just under 2 inches up till then, for the rest of our time out. And so I decided I would bring it home and have a good look at the barrel with the bore scope, and because it acted kind of like it had maybe started fouling. Well, I looked at the barrel, and it was pristine. I've never seen a nicer looking barrel. There was absolutely nothing wrong, and no reason that I could think of for the accuracy to suddenly go south. So I then I cleaned it up and had a closer look, and it still looked fine. But then thinking back on it, with that first shot hitting as it did, and then the second shot being so far to the right, it occurred to me that we might have a scope issue here. And everybody's kind of used to now and then having to do the Leupold shuffle when you're trying to sight them in. Leupolds aren't famous for their tracking ability. And this one certainly demonstrated that, and that always makes me a little suspicious. So I mounted another scope on the rifle, and my intention was to go try it again. But you know what? From the outset, the plan was to take that rifle and rebarrel it with a 6mm Creedmoor barrel. And the 7mm 08 barrel was going to be junk. And so I'm going to go ahead and change the barrels, and I'm going to check the action out very carefully while I'm doing that and see if I can find anything amiss there at all. And then we'll put that 6mm Creedmoor barrel on there, which we know shoots well. It's been on another Kimber, shot very well. And so we'll put that 6mm Creedmoor barrel on and test that with the old Bushnell scope that I'd put on to replace the Leupold, and then we can put the Leupold back on and see how that works. But later on, I'll fit that 7mm 08 barrel to another action. I can put it on a Remington or Winchester or whatever I've got handy, and work with it a little bit and see if there really is anything at all wrong with the barrel or just what the heck the deal is. And so we'll find out. But until then, I have other work to do. And you'll recall the 300 Winchester Magnum on the Remington 700 with the undersized Packmore barrel. Well, I got the replacement barrel for that, and here it is, right here. And this is a barrel from Hugh Williamson in Calgary, Alberta. And these are really excellent barrels. So, and this one's the right size. So I have high hopes for this. The contour is just a little bit lighter than the barrel that was on it. And that's okay. I'll be able to use the same muzzle brake and turn it down to match this contour. So everything should work out well. And it's a nice job because there's nothing more straightforward than putting a barrel on a Remington. I'll show that just in case there's something that comes up that might be noteworthy. We'll find out. I might do things a little differently. There's numerous ways to fit in chamber barrels, and as long as it's a valid way, I'll use it. And I like to show different techniques when I can, and so I'll do that. I had planned at one point to show the process of setting a barrel up between centers to thread it and so on, and maybe I'll do that with this one. We'll see. But anyway, so that's what's up now. And but the big thing here was to produce enough of a video that I can get an idea of how the mic and the camera settings work. So anyway, I'm going to pause you for a moment while I get things set up. And here we go. Okay, that's on the camera. We'll find out when I upload this. But on the camera, it looks nice and bright. So the first step, as always, is to cut a little bit off the breech end of the barrel to get the length of the reinforce right. And so here it is. And as you can see, Hugh etches the information on the breech end of the barrel, does such a nice job of it that I almost think I should put that up as a decoration. Anyway, so I cut off about 1/4 of an inch. And now, while this 3-jaw chuck is very good, it's not perfect, and the bore's running out by about 3/1000ths of total indicator run out, so I can't cut the center like that. So I'll have to put the 4-jaw chuck on, and then I'll cut the new center on the on this barrel, and then we'll go from there. So let's do this change. Now this is an old-fashioned machine with a threaded headstock. Just a moment here. We'll get a phone going off. So I'll be right back. Here we are back again. I'm going to have to do a little editing, I think. So like I said, we just switch chucks, and then I can set that. Now, if I ever I live long enough to get another lathe, I might get one with a cam lock nose, so that rather than the threaded arbor there. But this actually works out just fine. The chucks go on and off. It's repeatable. They run true, so it's kind of hard to complain. So as usual, set this up with a piece of brass wire on the barrel. And as I'm sure I've mentioned before, the brass wire allows the barrel to pivot, so that when I adjust the screws on the outboard end, the barrel can align. One thing that I'm curious about with this mic is just how much extraneous noise shows up. And, so now I'll switch indicators so I can dial in on the bore. Now I generally dial in to the top of the lands. And it's usually pretty easy to do, but the last couple of 10,000ths are sometimes just a little difficult to read. And right now I'm stuck on about about a half a thousandth of total indicator run out, which gives me 2.5 tenths of actual run out. There we go. There. So that's pretty zero-ish. So when a person's cutting the center, I use a piloted center reamer, and in general you could probably get away with it running out 2 or 3 thousandths and still cut a decent center. But I just kind of want to get it as good as I can, and just to cut that center, and because if I'm going to thread the barrel supporting it on the tailstock center, I want that center to be as concentric as it can be. And also I'll turn the shank of the barrel after I've with it running on the tailstock center, and again I want that surface to be as concentric as it can be to the bore. And if you're going to chamber in the steady rest, for instance, that's really critical that shank be concentric with the bore, because then when it's running in the steady, the bore will be running true. And if you do that, if you run it in the steady and the bore is running true, then that's as good a way to do it as any. If the bore isn't running true, well, that takes some of your options away from you. But so for this one, all I'm going to do here right now is cut the center. By rights, I should have swapped it around in the 3-jaw chuck and cut it to length at the same time. I did not do that. So I'm going to end up having to set it up and cut it to length in the 4-jaw. It's a good thing that I don't have to make money at this, because I'm not really operating efficiently today. No. So like I say, a pretty simple reaming operation and not a lot of cutting to do, so that I don't even have to use a wrench. And that's probably enough of a center to do the job. Bring you back around. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check this. Check the center and see how well it's running from a concentricity standpoint. And that center is showing essentially zero run out, maybe 1/10,000th total indicator, which in my world is just like nothing. Because that's all it's about as good as I can do. A person could improve that slightly, perhaps by lapping that, but here again, there's times to be anal and times when you need to let it go. And this is okay. So now I have this center, runs concentric with the bore. It's a little eccentric with the outside because the outside of the barrel is not perfectly concentric with the bore. Barrels seldom are. But anyway, now I can operate with this as my center. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the muzzle end. First, I'm going to cut this thing to length. I'm going to flip it around, cut it to length. Then I'm going to hold the muzzle end in the chuck. And no, and let's change that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and thread this between centers, and just to show how that's done. I think I've tried to do this 2 or 3 times, and every time I've screwed up on the camera work. Let's see if we can not do that this time around. So again, I'm going to pause you though while I do some measuring and so on. Okay, the truth of the matter is that, for cutting off isn't a very precision operation as a rule. So it doesn't matter if the thing ran out 10,000ths. But since we're going to have to dial in the in order to cut a center in the muzzle, since I'm going to thread between centers, we'll want to set it up fairly accurately. Now, the thing is that quite often threading between centers and chambering in the steady rest and so on was done as a matter of expedience. It's a quick, easy, and reasonably accurate way to do things. But normally, and trust me when I tell you that a lot of the barrel makers will use this methodology. The barrel will be set up in a 3-jaw chuck, cut, center reamed, flipped around, the muzzle cut, center reamed, all in a 3-jaw chuck. And here again, 3-jaw chuck can be pretty close, but it's not going to be perfect. But anyway, so that's what will happen. Now that center is, if it's cut with a reamer with a good pilot on it, is going to be pretty true. But so then the barrel is threaded between centers, and the shank is cut, and it's going to be within a thousandth or so of running concentric. So when you run the barrel in the steady rest, you're going to be running within a thousandth or so of concentric. And if things have gone really well for you, you might be running perfectly. So the difference when it comes to that chambering operation, the difference is that by doing it in the 4-jaw chuck and dialing it in and pre-boring and all that, you can be pretty certain that everything is concentric. When you do it in the steady rest, unless you've double-checked everything all along the way, you're going to have some error in all likelihood, and you're just kind of hoping that you've done everything according to good machine shop practice, and consequently it's going to come out okay. Now, with this particular barrel, I'm taking extra pains with the cutting of the centers and so on, so I should end up with a very concentric shank on the barrel to run in the steady, and consequently it should run quite true. And we're going to find out just how true it runs because we have a good accurate center there. When I set it up in the steady, I can check on that center and see just how close I am. And if it runs 0, well, then it wouldn't be any better in the 4-jaw chuck. And the thing is 0 is 0, and that's you can't improve on that. So anyway, but for right now, while not at 0, we're pretty darn close. And we're going to cut this barrel off, and then we'll adjust it so it is 0, and then cut the center. So here we go. Nope, got a little chatter starting here. I'll just see if I can't calm that down. There we go. Sticking out a ways from the chuck. It's sticking out about 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches from the wire that's holding the barrel. And as a consequence of that, I can feel the barrel flex. And there we go. And hence the tendency to want to chatter just a little bit. So, switch tools here. Heck, you can't see a darn thing there, can you? That's, once again, you guys should check that ahead of time. Well, we're not going to worry about it right now. Instead, I'll describe it to you. It's cutting just fine. There we go, Bob's your uncle. I'll get this out of the way a little bit, maybe for the reaming portion. Okay. And again, a real adequate center. And once again, I'm going to just double check that center. To see how it runs. And this end runs out just about 3/10,000ths of an inch. So not as perfect as the breech end, but close enough for the muzzle. And looking through the barrel while it's running in the lathe, you can see a very minute curvature, if there is one. And this barrel is running exceedingly straight. There's very, very little wobble. It's not maybe the straightest barrel I've ever had in the lathe, but it's darn close. And so that's excellent. That makes me feel good. So anyway, this preparation that's dragged on a lot longer than it should have was as difficult as it was, just because I want to do the best job I can while still being able to show you the between centers threading and so on. And the reason for that is I want to do the best I can with this barrel. This is the first of Williamson's barrels that I've used, quite frankly, and I'm very impressed with how it looks, and I'm hoping to be just as impressed with how it shoots, so that even though it's just a hunting rifle, I want to do, like I said, the best job I can, so that I'm confident that everything the barrel does, like, it's not going to do poorly because of my work. And since the barrel looks so good, well, it should shoot good. So we're going to see. Anyway, for tonight, I'm going to stop and kind of decide what I'm going to do from here. I think I'll remove the four-jaw chuck from the backing plate and install the center and the driver. As you'll recall, for the last 45 years, I've been simply too cheap to buy a faceplate, so I use the backing plate to drive the dog, and the four-jaw chuck just gets taken off. But anyway, that's that. We're going to find out how this microphone worked. I'm going to see how the lighting looks on the computer when I upload this, and hopefully get some feedback, and people can tell me it works well or it sucks. Either way, I'd kind of like to know. So for now, for this evening, gosh, this is there we go. For this evening, this is Will Henry, out.